So I'm probably not the first person to tell you that if you really want to get what you want, you have to let that thing go. However, what usually doesn't come with that statement is an explanation as for why. And then the second and probably even more important part of that, which is, well, what do I do with this information? And I'm going to give you both of those steps in this video. If you don't know who I am, my name's Aaron. I run this channel Unconscious Flow, where it's all about utilizing all of the resources of our unconscious mind alongside all of the conscious parts and all the conscious resources that we have in our mind, using them together, getting rid of any kind of limiting beliefs so that you can actually live the life that you want and not the life that is expected of you either by other people, society, or by parts of yourself that don't actually have the best intentions for you. So when it comes to getting what you want and then the solution to that, which is letting go, I find that it's quite limiting. And also because the explanation isn't there, people often get very confused, especially people who come and see me for the one-on-one coaching, because they have this idea of what they think letting go is. But then when we actually get into it, not only is the letting go not helping them, it's actually holding them back. And it's actually the reason for them not progressing in whatever area of life they're coming to me with. Usually it's to do with not feeling like they're good enough, and either in the internal or in the external, they feel like they should be somewhere and they're not there externally. Like they should be doing much better in their career or they should be doing much better in their relationships or whatever that is. It's usually some kind of internal or external, usually a combination of both, why those people are coming to me. And when they come to me with the letting go stuff, they've usually read David R. Hawkins. They've usually read some kind of Buddhist philosophy and thought, some kind of maybe even some cognitive science or some neuroscience. However, it's clear to me that they don't actually understand what letting go is. So the first part of this explanation, what is absolutely essential for you to understand, if you don't take anything else from this video, hopefully you take this, is how craving works, how something called craving works. So where I'm getting all this literature from is from Theravada Buddhism. And my teacher, Sister Kante Kema, Sasana Dipika, who was a very senior Buddhist nun in the Theravadan Buddhist community worldwide, but then obviously also in America, where she founded the Dharma Sukha Foundation alongside her teacher, Bhante Vimala Ramsey. That was my education. That was my teacher. Craving is absolutely essential if you want to understand why it is these things that you really want don't seem to be going anywhere. But then in areas of your life which you could be pretty indifferent to, suddenly for that, it seems so easy, it seems so effortless. And it's because of craving. So, what craving is essentially is taking something personally. Now, you can take something personally in three different ways. Either I like this, I don't like this, and I'm neither like this or nor dislike it. The third one is a bit more nuanced, but the first two are the most important. Okay. So, what this means is when we really want something, it moves from just having a kind of healthy desire for something into a destructive craving for something. Now, when I say destructive, I don't mean to use alarmist language or make it any bigger than it is. When I say destructive, I just mean not helpful. But what is craving? So I have a ton of videos, or I have a few videos on the links of dependent origination, especially with my playlist of how to overcome negative beliefs. But I'll give you a lowdown of what that is. Our mind is constantly thinking and our body is constantly feeling. These two processes are natural processes. No matter how enlightened you become, no matter how spiritually aware you become, or however healed you become, these processes are always going to be happening. The difference is, depending on your level of development when it comes to these practices, is how much do you take it personally? For example, pain becomes suffering the moment it moves from the impersonal nature of pain. Like if I go and I cut my hand right now, I'm not making a decision to feel pain. It just happens due to a result of an external stimulus. Hence, why it's impersonal. It's an impersonal link of the chain of reaction. Okay, we can call it karma, we can call it dependent origination. What's most useful is for you to understand this step. The pain is impersonal. Okay, the feeling of something is impersonal. The feeling of desire is impersonal. And let's say you really crave a person or a relationship or a job or a certain amount of money. Not crave, you really desire it. But the way that we're talking about it now, it's not a problem if it's just impersonal. You just see there's this thing that you want and you have a desire to go and get it. Okay, that's fine. A lot of the translation, they kind of muddle up craving and desire when it's moved from Pali to English. Use those terms interchangeably when they're not the same term. Because craving is the moment we take that desire personally. The moment we take that desire for this person personally, for this job offering personally, for this fear that we have of something going bad in the future when we take that personally. Okay, that's what craving is. Now, there's three different types of craving you can have, which is the craving, the clinging, and the aversion. And they're all classed in this explanation as the same thing. They're all classed as craving. So craving is I have this thing or I want this thing. And I want this thing. There's the I in it. That's the personal part of it. The second part is clinging, which is I already have this thing. And because I like it so much, I want to keep it. Clinging. Third one is aversion. Or there's this thing I think could happen. I really don't want it to happen. And I have craving for it to not happen. Aversion. So all three of these things are the personal links. Okay. We can have a fear of something happening in the future. However, that's not a problem. It can just be a fear, like a healthy fear, like, hey, watch out for this. Okay. The moment we take this personally, the moment we say, this is me, this is mine, this is myself, is the moment that it becomes unnecessary suffering. It becomes craving. So why am I explaining craving? Why am I explaining this really deep Buddhist concept to you right now? The reason why is because craving adds a lot of tension, a lot of energy, a lot of constricting focus onto something. And when you have these three things on something, and you can describe it in 1,000 other different ways, but when you have these characteristics on something, when you want something, it makes it much harder for you to actually go and get it. I'll give you an example. So if you're doing, say, a sporting competition, I used to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at a regional, national, and international level. You have the healthy desire to want to win. But the moment you make a storyline about that, the moment you make an identity around that, around the winner, the moment you make a narrative around this, is the moment that healthy desire turns into craving. And when you have that healthy desire turn into craving, all of the benefits of having a healthy desire, the energy, the increased focus, the increased reactions and reactiveness, you also get an athletic boost as well, a mental boost. All of these different boosts is the moment that you start being a little bit careful because you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose this fantasy you have in your head of you winning. So your movements become more constricted. You think more rather than being in the moment and flowing. The thinking happens before that in the preparation of the competition. So not only are you fighting the other person in this competition, you're also fighting yourself because you're fighting to keep this thing that you have alive in your head, this craving to really want to prove yourself or to retain the image of a winner and avoid the image of the loser. You're adding all of this unnecessary friction, which then makes it harder for you to win that competition. So for me, for example, whenever I would have a really strong craving, it would make that competition much harder for me to win. Didn't mean that I would always lose. That's the thing. But it means that it made it much harder than it needed to be. And then if I was to win, it would be because of I put more hours in, or for whatever reason, I was just physically, my body felt really good, or maybe my competitors were in their head more than me. But this is a really, really clear-cut, concrete example of why letting go of something actually leads to progress. However, now we've explained what craving actually is, we can go into what the letting go part of this actually is. So the letting go is not letting go of desire, okay? Because that's something which is impossible for you to do as a human, first of all, right? Doesn't matter how enlightened you become, you can't let go of desire. But what you can let go of is craving. So there has to be a mindset shift, there has to be an attention shift away from this kind of ethereal, muddy, like not quite clear explanation of what letting go actually is. But now we have an actual target, an actual thing that we can let go of. So it's not letting go of desire, it's not letting go of motivation, it's not letting go of dopamine, it's not letting go of certain really essential things that we need in life to flourish, obviously in moderation, in harmony within ourselves. And every single person's harmony and moderation is different, which is why the one-on-one work is so, so important, because it enables me to actually give personalized feedback as well as personal shadow work sessions, unconscious work, everything that somebody needs one-on-one in a personalized, bespoke way. So if that sounds interesting, I have my link below. So you need to find this harmony and this moderation in between yourself. And you don't find that by just letting go of everything, by letting go of all desire. No, you let go of the craving, which is, to reiterate again, the personal nature of that you're taking things as. So an example would be, let's say you really want to crush it in a presentation in work. And if you crush it, then you'll get a nice pay rise and you'll get the position in work that you want. That desire is extremely healthy, and we can nourish that and we can integrate that into our wants and our needs. Okay, if you want to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can place it on there if you really want to do that. That's something that is essential to driving us forward. Now, driving us forward and achieving goal isn't the end all be all, but it is an important part of us. It's an important part of our psychology. We don't want to be letting that go. The thing that we are letting go is the craving that might arise around it. The either craving, clinging, or aversion. Okay, one of those three categories, remember? So depending on which one of those are, it's the same process though. We just relax and we let go of the craving. We take the I out of it. We take the me, this is mine, this is myself out of it. Now, if you stick around to the end of the video, I have an actual step-by-step guide to let go of that. Okay, so it's not just saying, we're not just saying letting go and then having no explanation. There is something at the end of that, but we need to move to the second point first, which is we've gone over the letting go. We've gone over the craving. Now, what do we actually do with this information? Now, it's a little bit similar to what I was just alluding to, but the difference here is now we understand at least what it is that we're letting go of. Now we understand the mechanics of why it makes something easier to let go of it rather than hold on to it, because we're not letting go of the desire. We're letting the desire be there and drive us, that inspiration that's so healthy to the human spirit. We're letting that be there, but we're letting go of all the unnecessary baggage and constrictive kind of feelings and outlooks on certain stuff. We're doing all of that, but now we need to look at is how we actually use this model in life, okay? So obviously, if you're a fan of the channel, if you've been in this channel for a while, you know there's a lot of unconscious shadow work, which is healing, which is different to this. So the shadows are the kind of playground which everything arises from that's not useful to us, okay? The shadows are the constructs that we have in our minds that might make a certain desire be more predisposed to arise, or not desire, but a craving to be more predisposed to arise. So the shadow work is a separate issue, and I really recommend you to go into that and to look at that stuff, because that's going to make just the playground and the playing field that you're on so much nicer to be in, so much less stressful, and you're going to have to deal with taking things personally just a lot less. So that's something separate. The way you use this practice is by, if you catch yourself in the moment of already doing something. Like let's say you can't do the one-on-one work, or you haven't done any one-on-one work, and and you don't have time to do shadow work and all this kind of stuff, then this is the practice which you use to catch yourself. This is the map you use to catch yourself if you're straying. Oh yeah, the reason why I'm feeling a little bit tight and a little bit like I'm really focused but not in a good way is because I have aversion to this going wrong. Okay, I can do the letting go practice now. Or I can let go of that, or I can just notice that, be aware, and just come back to center. That's how you're using this practice. This is not a replacement for dealing with insecurities. This is that. Otherwise, then that's just spiritual bypassing, which is a whole other issue in the community. If you want me to do a video on spiritual bypassing and how to avoid that, let me know in the comments below. Actually, that could be a good video. So, like I said, for those who stuck around to the end of the video, the third point is this. You're going to be doing something called the Nevermind game, which I got from my mentor, Sister Kama, which is the first step is you realize that you're in craving. This is something that happens automatically. The same way that you can't realize you're daydreaming until you realize that you're daydreaming. There's no like conscious mechanic that you can use. You just, one moment you're daydreaming and one moment you kind of snap out of it. This is the mindfulness. This is why doing a mindfulness practice is so important, because it allows you to have more of a big picture meta view of the mind in general. Okay, which means that you're able to watch the mind and you're not getting caught up into the many different currents and streams of the mind. You're able to separate yourself. So first step is that. Second one, you release your attention from the craving. So you're looking over here, you really want this craving. Oh, you realize? Now you just move your attention back. Third step, and probably the most important, this is the thing that differentiates the practice from the other mindfulness resets, okay, which is the relax step. You'll realize that when you are looking somewhere and then you look back, yeah, you'll realize that there is tension left over in your mind if you really pay attention to it, because that's what craving does. It creates tension in the mind, also the body as well, but the mind is what we're working with right now. So whatever this means to you, relax the mind, relax the tension from the mind. So first of all, you realize, then you release your attention, The tension that's here, now it's been released, and now your attention is no longer over there on the craving. You relax the mind. Like I said, if this is something that's really interesting to you, then I do have my one-on-one link below where we don't do any hard sales, don't do any hard selling. It's just a genuine conversation to see what it is exactly that you want, what the problems that you're experiencing, and how we can actually come up with the most bespoke game plan to help you. The fourth stage is you re-smile, okay? Because what this does is it anchors us to a positive state, okay? So when we come out of something, not only do we just release the tension, we also smile because it makes us feel better, right? If you smile, it actually makes you feel better. It releases endorphins. So what we are doing is we are anchoring a good state. And then the fifth stage is you say, never mind, and you go back to what you're doing. The reason we say never mind is because I find like it's a really good linguistic trigger to make sure that we are not making a big deal out of it. Because here's the thing. Here's like the kind of big thing. The moment we make a big deal out of something is the moment we are in craving, okay? So if we make a big deal out of something, if we make a big deal out of realizing that we just made something a big deal, then we're just caught in a bigger loop of craving, right? Which is not something we want. But when we say never mind, it's a very indifferent energy without being dismissive. The thing is about being dismissive is you're actually the same energy that you're trying to push something away just gets pushed back to you. So if you really try and push something and make something go away, that energy that you're pushing into it to make it go away is just feeding it, okay? Which is why if you're listening to this, letting go probably hasn't worked for you because the letting go has to be done with a very neutral energy. If you're really trying to get rid of something and push it away, you're just giving it energy, you're just feeding it energy, and it becomes more and more ingrained. That's why so many people I work with struggle with letting go because it never gets properly explained. Also, if you wanted to have me to do a video, full breakdown of letting go and how it works and what not to do and what to do, I'm more than happy to do that. So the never mind allows us with that attitude of never mind. It's not just us saying never mind, it's our whole system being like, well, never mind. It stops that from happening. It stops the loop from continuing to loop around. It stops us from being trapped in the trap of letting go, or pushing all this energy into letting go and just having it bounce back to us. I really, really hope that this was interesting to you and that you're able to actually put these things into practice, okay? And then you can actually see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and how this actually benefits you. I promise you, if you start to do this stuff, you will start to see results. And not only will you start to see results, you'll start to deepen your practice and you'll start to learn what it is that actually works for you best. Okay, like I said, if you want me to do any videos, more videos like this, I'm more than happy to. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll do video responses. And if nothing else, enjoy.